Deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his family have reportedly arrived in Moscow and they have been granted asylum by Russia. Meanwhile, US forces have intensified their airstrikes on Syria, targeting ISIS camps. Now, what does this dramatic shift mean for Syria? And as the entire world watches on, what exactly awaits the Middle Eastern nation? Good morning and welcome. This is the Breakfast Rundown. I'm Theruni Karunaratne. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Well, as much as our top story this morning comes in from the Middle East, Syria, we also, as always, will be carrying several key local stories as well. Stay tuned with us. We have all the news in detail. Let's first move on to our top story for this morning. According to Russian state media agencies, deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his family have arrived in Moscow. Reports added that Assad and his family have been granted asylum in Russia. US President Joe Biden, meanwhile, described the fall of the Assad regime in Syria as, quote, a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their country. Now, President Biden pointed to the collapse of support for the regime from Iran, Hezbollah and Russia, saying that all three were militarily weaker now than when he took office, making their support for the regime impossible. President Biden said US support for sanctions, diplomacy and targeted military support when necessary has helped open up new opportunities in Syria as well as the entire region. However, President Biden also called it a moment of risk and uncertainty for the country. He pledged his support for Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq and Israel, against any threat that could arise from Syria in this transition period. He said he had plans to speak to the leaders of those countries in the coming days as well. Meanwhile, CENTCOM says that the United States carried out more than 75 airstrikes on Sunday in a bid to, quote, eliminate ISIS camps in central Syria, unquote. It says there are no indications of civilian casualties. Meanwhile, other Western leaders have also welcomed the end of the Assad regime, but highlighted a moment of risk and uncertainty for Syria's future. Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, the leader of the HTS group that spearheaded the ousting of President Bashar al-Assad, addressing a crowd earlier at the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, told it was a victory for the entire Muslim nation and represented a new page for the region. He thanked the martyrs who had died in Syria's long conflict, the civil war that started in 2011, and said Assad had spread sectarianism as well as corruption in the country. He said that Syria was abandoned as a playground for Iranian ambitions under Assad, but today everyone could, quote-unquote, breathe freely. Let's move on to local news for this morning. We start off with a weather update. The Department of Meteorology says that an increase in rainfall can be expected in the northern and eastern provinces starting tomorrow. This is due to the low-pressure area currently existing over the Bay of Bengal, which is moving west-northwestward and is expected to reach the southern Bay of Bengal near the Sri Lanka-Tamil Nadu coast the day after tomorrow, by the 11th of December. The Department of Meteorology further adds that along with this, the monsoon conditions in the southwestern part of the island are expected to gradually establish across the country. Meanwhile, meteorologist Udeni Veera Singha says that the northern and eastern provinces as well as the Mathale district may experience several spells of showers. The western and Sabaragamu provinces as well as the Gaul, Mathura, Nuwara Eliya and Kandy districts may experience showers or thunder showers during the evening or night. The western and Sabaragamu provinces and several places in the Gaul and Mathura districts may also experience rainfall of up to 75 millimeters. The central, Sabaragamu, southern, Uber, western and northwestern provinces may also experience misty conditions during the morning hours. Meanwhile, the Agricultural and Agrarian Insurance Board has informed farmers that they should report any crop damage that was resulted by the heavy rainfalls that the country recently experienced before tomorrow. The area of cultivation lands considered to have been damaged due to heavy rains exceeds 390,000 acres. Experts predict that the harvest of the Maha season may be reduced by approximately 10% due to this. Now, crops in the districts of Ampara, Munaragala, Batiklo, Trincomalee, Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa have been damaged, with the most significant impact being on the paddy cultivations in the Ampara and Batiklo districts of Sri Lanka. The chairman of the Agricultural and Agrarian Insurance Board, Premasiri Jasingha Arachi, said that officials have already begun assessing the damage of the affected cultivation lands. Now, the government had previously stated that it would pay 100,000 rupees per acre for fully damaged cultivation lands. The government has currently allocated a total of 1 billion rupees to compensate for total crop damage within the country. Let's move on to more local news now. Starting today, Lanka Sirasa will sell 200,000 coconuts daily through its outlets. Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Security, Vasanta Samarasinghe, has announced that consumers in urban areas, including Colombo, can purchase coconuts at a subsidized price from Lanka Sirasa outlets throughout the country. Currently, Lanka Sirasa sells approximately 100,000 coconuts daily, but this number will be increased to 200,000 coconuts starting today. The price of a coconut sold through Lanka Sirasa is 130 rupees. Coconuts from government-owned plantations will be sold to consumers through Lanka Sirasa in this manner. Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, Namal Karunaratne, says that after the month of August, there is usually a reduction in the coconut harvest of Sri Lanka. He added that the highest amount of harvest of coconuts is usually recorded in the months of May, June, March and April. Karunaratne went on to note that Sri Lanka has failed to meet the coconut demand, which stands at about 3 billion coconuts. He added that the harvest, however, is around 2.4 billion to 2.6 billion coconuts. The Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Livestock also said that measures are being taken to tackle this temporary shortage of coconut in the market. He said that accordingly, coconuts grown in government-owned plantations are being released to the market. Now, the Consumer Affairs Authority says that 2 officials have been deployed at each rice mill to inspect the daily stock of rice being released. The authority adds that data is being collected regarding the purchase of paddy, daily production and release of rice stocks, as well as distribution to the market. Rice mill inspections in the Polonnaruwa and Hambantota districts began yesterday. These inspections are being carried out based on instructions from the President to obtain reports on the daily rice stocks being released from these mills. The Consumer Affairs Authority says that this process will continue for the next 10 days. Now, in the Polonnaruwa district, 8 large-scale rice-producing institutions were inspected yesterday, and in the Hambantota district, 5 rice-producing institutions were inspected as well. Ahead of the release of rice at a maximum retail price, rice mill owners reached an agreement with the President during discussions that were held the day before yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat. As per this agreement, the price of 1 kilogram of Nadu rice should be 230 rupees. The price of a kilogram of white samba rice should be 220 rupees. The price of an imported Nadu rice kilogram is 220 rupees. The maximum retail price for a kilogram of samba rice is set at 240 rupees. The price of a kilogram of kiri samba rice is 260 rupees. The President also instructed that strict legal action be taken against those selling rice above these regulated prices. On to more local news now. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka says that it is approaching a final conclusion regarding the proposal presented by the Ceylon Electricity Board concerning electricity tariff revisions using its own studies as well as public opinions. The chairman of the commission, Professor K.P.L. Chandralal, said that studies related to this matter have already commenced. He further added that the process of gathering public opinions is set to commence in about 2 more weeks. Now, the CEB has proposed to maintain the current electricity tariffs for the first 6 months of 2025 as well. And the CEB submitted this proposal regarding electricity tariff revision to the PUCSL last Friday. Meanwhile, police say that a fisherman who went out to sea from the Hikkadua fishing harbour on the 6th of December has gone missing after he fell into the sea. The missing fisherman was aboard a fishing vessel which went out to sea on the 19th of November. The 22-year-old fisherman is a resident of Woodland Vatta, Gona Pinuvala. The police stated that no information has been reported regarding the missing fisherman as of yet. Let's move on to a sports story for this morning. It's sports, it's cricket. Day 5, the final day of the second test between Sri Lanka and South Africa is set to take place today at the St. George's Park Stadium. With the fate of the two-test series hanging in the balance, Sri Lanka closed the penultimate day's play in the second test against South Africa on firmer footing. Chasing 348, visitors had lost 5 wickets at the score of 122 before captain Dhananjay De Silva combined alongside Kusal Mendes to amass 83 runs for the 6th wicket. The partnership helped Sri Lanka see through day 4, laying the foundation for an exquisite day 5 finish, with 143 runs separating the visitors from a win and levelling the series and 5 wickets in hand. While South Africa are currently leading 1-0 in the series and sit second in the ICC World Test Championship points table, Sri Lanka, placed 4th, are also in contention for the final, scheduled to be played at Lord's next year. And that's a wrap of this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown. I'm Peruni Karunaratna. I'll see you once again tomorrow right here on TV1 at 7 a.m. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.